Uh, John Rothman, everybody. How about it? He's the host of Around the Political World with John Rothman, the daily podcast.
I blame no one, Mark. I'm just delighted
I can't hear
to be
John,
here.
and I blame. Thank you, John. John is always full of happy ebullience, which is really great. And ebullience is a dang word. All right, so John, it's an embarrassment of sad riches today as we talk politics in America. Let me get to the presidential politics, and then we can get into some other stuff. These swing states, which really decide the elections in this horribly flawed system that we have, in these swing state polls, Trump is now showing either a lead on Biden or a dead heat with Biden. Can you speak to that, please? This is a Wall Street Journal poll.
Yeah, I read the poll. It's too soon. You know how things shift. We are now on April 3rd. I remember the date because it's my wife's birthday. And, one never wants to forget that. But it's just too early to tell. What is clear is that there are a sizable number of people who feel strongly that they will not vote for Trump, a sizable number who say they will not vote for Biden. And the question will be, in the end, which of the sizable numbers triumphs?
I'm reading so much, John, about the siphoning off, and this is also in early polling. If you consider this poll too early, then this would be also falling into that category. The third party siphoning off of more votes I was seeing in the latest poll from Biden than Trump, from RFK Jr., who does continue to rise in the polls, and those numbers appear to come from the Biden camp.
No, I disagree. I think it comes from the Trump camp, but it's neither here nor there. By the way, you heard the question posed on CNN to RFK Jr., who represented the biggest threat to democracy, Biden or Trump. And he said, well, I can make the case that it's Biden. And I thought to myself, that's it. He's going to lose credibility. In the end, I think the third parties will fade. I think they will not have the impact that are talked about now. Third parties generally do fade. But when Donald Trump says the country will cease to exist if he doesn't win the election, and that the last election we will ever have may be the one in 2024, he'll be judged harshly, and he should be. I have to tell you, Mark, too soon, but I think that Donald Trump has so many self-inflicted wounds, they will just continue to grow. And I point out again, key people around Trump are not supporting him, including Mike Pence.
Right. I mean, you've been really good about pointing out those that have melted away from what would likely be a reflexive support for the GOP candidate. Those are high-profile GOPers, usually turn out for the GOP top-of-ticket candidate. 29% of Americans think neither former President Donald Trump nor President Joe Biden are good options this election cycle, according to this Gallup poll.
Not a surprise.
Yeah.
Generally, people don't like the people who are nominated.
Yeah. 35% of voters say Trump would be a good president if reelected, compared to 30% of those who say the same for Biden. It's an extraordinary fact that you could get more people saying that Trump would be a good president by 5% than saying that about Biden. The public really is remarkable in the way that they've shifted toward Trump amid all of the issues that Trump has. I mean, clear corruption, it would seem, an inability to, add together sort of the simple geopolitical math. The guy knows nothing. And there's just more and more evidence. I mean, all of the people have worked with him at the highest levels, from generals to chiefs of staff. They've all
members
come
of his cabinet.
That's right.
Mike Esper, the former Secretary of Defense.
Esper, Secretary of Defense, Bolton, et cetera. I mean, these are people I have no love for, but they are all unified in their disgust for Donald Trump as a political figure.
And it will make an impact. I don't believe the nation is focused yet, but I think the Democrats are going to turn out ads featuring all the people who are closest to Donald Trump. I think it's going to have a huge impact. And frankly, Donald Trump is his own worst enemy. Can you vote for a candidate for president who says the country will cease to exist if he isn't elected? I mean, give me a break.
I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric that you're hearing from the left, that the country will cease to exist as a democracy or even a flawed democratic republic if Trump is elected. So he's essentially echoing the same stuff. I think it's deliberate. He's trying
That's what he does. That's what Roy Cohen taught him.
Right. Water it down to the point that
exactly the way you hit.
Yeah, exactly right, John. You're right to point out Cohen.
So can I just say, I try to be objective in my political analysis, but those of you who listen to me on Around the Political World with John Rothman, know that I'm going to blast Trump repeatedly. Any person who would want to be president of the United States who talks about immigrants infecting the blood of America, anyone who is an immigrant or the child or grandchild or great-grandchild of an immigrant, you should know he's talking about you.
Oh, the immigration thing is crazy, and it's been.
And it's not a bloodbath. You know, you can now go on Donald Trump's website, or actually it's a slightly different one, and it's the BidenBloodbath.com. Now, you may not like Joe Biden's policy on
Is that
the
real?
border. Yes.
Oh, my God.
You may not like Biden's policy on the border, but it's not a bloodbath. And it is absurd what he is saying. And look, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I believe the good sense of the American people will prevail. They know better than this.
Let me ask you about what's going on in your city, San Francisco. I say your city because you really have a rich history there.
And you're going to have my good friend Mark Farrell on shortly, who is a former mayor and who is going to run for mayor. And let me tell you, the support for Mark is growing.
Yeah, I think he's coming in. When is he coming in, Kim? I think the 18th of this month to talk about the issues involving San Francisco. How would you summarize the issues that you see the city facing that a mayor might actually be able to put a dent in?
San Francisco has a weak mayor system, so it's very hard. We also have a board of supervisors, which is frankly a circus. On top of that, remember, we have commissioners here in San Francisco, but the mayor no longer can fire commissioners. So we have a weak mayor system. Now, the argument is that maybe we should go back to a strong mayor system, but there are pros and cons. In the end, it is the kind of leadership that a mayor offers, which will make all the difference in the world. Aaron Peskin, the president of the Board of Supervisors, is going to run, and he will have a solid number, I'd say about a quarter of the city, who call themselves progressives, who will vote for him. Mark Farrell has, I would say, about 25 to 30% as well of people who have seen him and know him. The mayor, London Breed, a lot of people discount her, but I wouldn't. I think she's going to run a very strong campaign. And remember, we have ranked choice voting, which means you can vote for 3 people. And in the end, as elimination takes place, the numbers can shift rapidly. So I'm opposed to ranked choice voting. I think what you do is you have the 2 top people run off against each other. That's the way it used to be. That's the way it ought to be. And at least that was the way it was after 1979. So my sense, to be very honest with you, is that we've got a problem in terms of San Francisco. But San Francisco shares the same problem with major cities across America. It doesn't matter where you are. Homelessness, fentanyl, the issues of urban tragedy, which takes place, the number of people who are now working from home and therefore don't need offices. I mean, you can go down the list of issues. There is a major argument here in San Francisco over the police chief, and you should ask Mark the question, and you should ask London Breed the question, and Daniel Lurie, who is also running. They need to be put on the spot and ask these tough questions.
You point to other cities. The city right across the bay, Oakland, huge issues. And I mention Oakland because when we talk about San Francisco not being what it was, and I'm seeing it in the chat.
By the way, Mark, I want to correct myself. I made a mistake, and I want to correct myself. The runoff system in San Francisco began in 1975. The top 2 ran off against each other, not 79. I was misspoke. But I can tell you now there is no runoff system. The same thing applies, I would point out to you, on a variety of levels in statewide elections as well. There needs to be a real point counterpoint. So I'm in favor of returning to the system of runoff. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm glad you corrected that. I mean, it's so odd to have John make an error because he's made maybe a handful of errors in his life. He's remarkable.
Would you mind calling my wife and telling her that?
You're so exacting in the information that you offer.
That's why when I make a mistake, and the
Yes.
audience should know, I try to correct myself.
Yes, yes. Well, so John, here's a question for you. Any comments on mayoral candidate Asha Safai?
Yes, Safai is running, a member of the Board of Supervisors, also runs to the left. And I think the problem Safi will have is, and I say this respectfully, is that if Aaron Peskin does jump in, I think the vote on the left will solidify behind him. By the way, in terms of Daniel Lurie, who is running hard, and Mark Farrell, maybe they split the same vote. I mean, it's an interesting thing. The Democratic Party in the city is certainly going to support London Breed. So is Willie Brown, who, by the way, just observed his 90th birthday. Willie, many happy returns. It's going to be a real battle for the future of San Francisco. But the question ultimately will be, what kind of leadership will the next mayor offer? How effective can a mayor be given the kind of system we have in the city?
Look, they have bigger challenges across the Bay, but it would seem to me that Oakland is a city that has some of the same issues. And many in San Francisco may look across the Bay at Oakland and go, you know, that's where we're headed unless we get our act together. I mean, with a...
Yeah, but you will note that Oakland is talking about changing the name of its international airport.
Right. Well,
they want to add San Francisco to it. So
that's not going to change that's not going to change what happens on the ground. I mean,
everything about San Francisco.
You can change all the names you want. You still have to solve problems.
You heard the big news today. The Republicans in the House of Representatives want to change the name of Dulles Airport to Trump Airport.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the lunacy of it?
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. We were talking about it yesterday, another effort on the part of a handful of Republicans in Congress to go, no, I love Trump more than you do. And no, I love Trump even more than you do. But this Oakland versus San Francisco, it's not so much the competition, but the public safety issues in both cities, I think, are instructive. I mean, this is a real problem, and it is affecting business. And even, as you said, the renaming of the airport is in response on some level to a stink that Oakland is getting on it. And it's sad because it is or was a great city. But, you know, slowly you lose the ballpark, you lose the vibrance of the downtown. And you lose it to a lawlessness, I think, on the part of the public. That's the feeling.
The same thing applies in San Francisco. There are a lot of people who will not go downtown shopping. Macy's is moving out of San Francisco. It's a terrible blow. And so these are all issues that urban centers across America are doing. But remember, Macy's isn't just leaving San Francisco. It's leaving locations all across the country. They've decided to go high end. Macy's was not supposed to be high end. Macy's was supposed to be a place where anybody could go for affordable shopping. And may I tell you, this is something that we are going to be wrestling with in San Francisco and in urban centers across the nation. As people rely more and more on shopping online. It's my wife bought me some shoes. She bought them online. I thought to myself, what? I want to try them on.
John's like 10 years behind. You can buy
shoes
online?
No, I'm not 10 years behind. I'm a half a century behind.
You've heard of Zappos, right? Zappos, yeah. They wrote a whole book that there's Macy's on Union Square. What a gorgeous
and look
place
next
Union
door
Square
to it,
is.
The white marble, that was I. Magnon's.
Right.
And so you're going to have Macy's, I. Magnon, other major stores in San Francisco closing. Why go downtown? You know, that's going to be a real question. Of course, there are some who have come up with ideas. One suggestion was to turn it into a university setting. That may happen as well. But the real reality is
to turn the old I. Magnon into university along with Macy's into a university
and
setting?
Bloomingdale's and to the malls. Yeah.
Right there on Union Square?
Perhaps.
Well, John, that seems... I guess if you're losing retail business, you're desperate for something, but that would completely change the character of Union Square, wouldn't it?
Well, these stores closing is changing the character of Union Square. Mayor Breed suggested south of Market, with the closing of the big malls there, they turn it into a big soccer field. And my response was, I'm sure we'll all get a big kick out of it.
Oh, my God.
What?
Thank you. I was waiting for the what. Well, John, as at this juncture...
Wait, you haven't hit the most important issue today.
What is that, sir?
That is that Speaker Johnson's in big trouble because he's going to push, it appears, a bill to provide money for Ukraine.
Right.
And the right wing of his party are opposed to that, and he could lose his job.
Well, wait a minute. But there's... Wait 1 second. Oh, great guru. There is one massive difference in this particular iteration of the removing the speaker game that the GOP is playing. They played it with McCarthy. The big difference here is with the Democrats. The Democrats may actually support Johnson and help him retain his seat. Don't you think?
Which would destroy him politically.
Of course, but it's a great counter move.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who's the next Speaker of the House of Representatives going to be?
I mean, again,
I'm going to make a prediction to you. Hakeem Jeffries.
Wow,
The Democratic
well, that would be
leader, if not now, after the election.
Yeah, after the election, absolutely, of course. Well, the Dems are going to take the House back, and then it will be Hakeem Jeffries. So, yeah, I think it's a safe.
And who will be the power behind the throne? Nancy Pelosi.
No. Wow.
She's not part of the leadership.
What?
Hakeem Jeffries relies on her. Democrats across the country, she's still the biggest single fundraiser for the Democratic Party.
So, John, your wife is away. Do you change your activities, the rhythm of your life at all with your wife out of the house?
No, not really. Yes, of course I do. Everything is different. And may I tell you, she is having a splendid time, but I will this afternoon speak. I wouldn't be doing a speech this afternoon were it not for the fact that my wife is out of town. We would have been celebrating. And then we're going out with relatives of hers who are from Israel. The most interesting thing, Michael Gross is a professor of political science at Haifa University. So I will have a chance to get an in-depth sense from Dr. Gross of what he sees as the future in terms of that conflict, which, as everyone knows, becomes more and more distressing with each passing day.
It is a dark time in the whole region. So,
oh wait, you didn't ask me about is the Israeli hitting the Iranian embassy
in Syria. In Syria, yeah.
Yes.
That will provoke a response from Iran, John.
Well, we'll see, because if it does, there's a constant escalation. And please, everybody, keep your eye on southern Lebanon. Hezbollah controls it. They are part of the Iranian push. Will they now escalate their activity? Remember, most people don't realize it, but about 250,000 Israelis have had to evacuate northern Israel because of constant rocket attacks. This is a growing issue, a growing problem. And one of the things we may want to talk about one day is how do you stabilize the Middle East? By the way, if we can come up with an answer, it'd be almost as good as the Mark Thompson listeners buying a lottery ticket and promising to give you the proceeds. That would take care of the whole problem.
Yeah, you'll need way more than a day.
Buy a radio station.
John, we love you. Around the Political World with John Rothman is the podcast. It's offered as a daily thing, and it's a treat. It's short. It's, I think, only 10 minutes long. So
10 minutes long. And give Mark Farrell my best. He's going to be a great guest for you.
Great. Well, that happens later in the month. The great John Rothman, everybody. Bye, John. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.